How was locals?
Bad. I dropped.
Did you play Lightsworn?
Yeah, my mills weren't very good.
Hey, how was locals?
Bad. I dropped.
Did you play Lightsworn?
Yeah, my mills weren't very good.
Hey, how was locals?
Bad. I dropped.
Did you play Lightsworn?
Yeah.
Let me guess. Your mills were bad?
No, the deck's bad now.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. These days, decks all look alike. Start with anywhere between 12 and 21 hand traps, throw in as little engine as possible, and hope you draw the right combination every time you march your ass to locals. Well, I, for one, am sick of it. Back in my day, decks played all gas, no defensive cards, and we liked it. My day is 2016, in case you were wondering. Anyway, today we have the last of a dying breed, fittingly represented by a series of cards that don't stay dead for long. Presenting Lightsworn.
Put your faith in the light.
So here's the list, which topped the recent Chilean WCQ. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. I've been shilling Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck for, well, years at this point, and I'm happy to announce I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. By now, they've become the most complete repository of tournament tops on the internet, the best place to jam prog with friends, and of course, still host strategy articles. Recently, they've added a new piece of infrastructure to the fold, a 3-card arena draft, draftable with card pools featuring classic formats, Master Duel, or within any parameters you like. Give it, or any of their other features, a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's look at Lightsworn. Lightsworn is a series of light monsters I could have sworn was unplayable. These Edison All-Stars demand you mill yourself now, getting you free summons off of Wolf and Felis for powerful plays. This deck felt unbeatable in 2010, provided you made a pact with some sort of top deck wizard, but it was on and off relevant pretty much since release until about 2017, when the Minerva build that famously cost an arm, a leg, and the top 20 cards of your deck was finally power crept. With new releases, however, and the fact that milling has only gotten better in the wake of Tearlament's release, it's very possible this deck has what it takes to be a power player. Unfortunately, this deck suffers from the same problem many strategies post-Pote have been faced with. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just isn't about all-gas 40,000 negate combos anymore. It's about streamlining your deck to get the most out of a 1-card combo and hoping to draw it alongside 3 pieces of non-engine disruption and 1 card like Called By that ensures your plays are going to resolve. Ironically, as cards have gotten better, combos have gotten less explosive and more resilient, and decks that just go balls to the wall have been left in the dust. We're coping regardless and playing these cards alongside some natural fits like Tearlament and Horus, but make no mistake, the non-Lightsworn portion of this deck is malleable. You can consider Lubellion and the Bestial Boys, the Thunder Dragons if you want to feel power crept in a couple of different directions, or Chaos Dragon good stuff if your name is Trishula. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Lightsworns, and we'll begin with the newest one, Little JD, Lightsworn Dragonling. If you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, this can be specialed from your hand, and if special summoned, you can send a Lightsworn card from your deck to your graveyard, except for itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a dragon monster with 3,000 attack and 2,600 defense from your deck to your hand, and I know you're all thinking of Judgment Dragon, but we're actually playing Punishment. This card can't be normal summoned or set and has to be special summoned by possessing 4 or more banished Lightsworns with different names. And then once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to shuffle into the decks all cards in the graveyards and all face-up banished cards. Unlike JD, this is a quick. Then once per turn, if a Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, you can send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Next up, we've got Weiss, and am I crazy? This is just Snow. This is Snow, right? Snow from Dark World. Can someone more well-versed in the lore than me explain, is this Snow changing sides, or Snow as a secret double agent operating the Dark World's dealings while pretending to be a Lightsworn? Anyway, this card allows you to place a Lightsworn card from your hand on top of your deck to special summon this from your hand, then mill 2. And if this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard, you can target a Lightsworn in your graveyard and special summon it. Hey, fun fact, the card you put on top of your deck can be one of these suckers. Wolf Lightsworn Beast used to be the worst thing you could possibly find in your hand. Now, it's not so bad. If normal summoned are set, then you lose the game immediately because a judge is walking over to your table. It must be special summoned by a card effect. If this card is sent from your deck to the graveyard, you can special summon it, just like its partner in crime, Felice Lightsworn Archer, monster, which has to be summoned by a card effect, and if sent from your deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, special summons, and can be tributed to target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Let's get into the tier limits. We're playing 3 of the ones we can play 3 of. 3 tier limit Kashtira, which during the main phase allows you to special this card from your hand, and if you do banish a Kashtira or tier limit from your hand or graveyard, and if normally special summoned, can bin 3 from either player's deck. If sent to the graveyard by a card effect, can bin an additional 2. This is being played alongside the only tier limits Rhino Heart, which if normally special summoned, can send a tier limits monster from your deck to the graveyard except for Rhino Heart, and if sent to the graveyard by a card effect, can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and send a tier limits card from your hand to the graveyard. We're playing 1 apiece of Shiren, Havness, and Merly. May they rest in peace. And then 1 apiece of the Shufflers, Mudora and Keldo. Where's Agito? Well, they got him. After that, we've got 2 copies of Beast King of the Swamps, a card I can't believe we're unironically playing. It's a 4, it's an Aqua, it's a fusion substitute. What more do you want? Finally, we are playing Horuses, and a minimal number of them at that. 3 copies of Imseti alongside 3 King Sarcophagus, and 1 copy of Happy, Happy, Happy. Now, we're also playing some really powerful spells. Charge of the Light Brigade is still good in the year of our Lord 2024. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then add a Lightsworn from your deck to your hand. After that, we've got 3 copies of Primeval Planet Pellerino, 2 copies of Tearlament Scream, 2 copies of Tearlament Celiac, and 1 copy of Lightsworn Aegis. Target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Lightsworns you control. Negate their effects until the end of the turn. That's cards, not monsters. And if this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, it can be set. It's a fun, layered piece of an end board. In the extra, we have one of the very few mechanisms by which you will get anything approaching a negate, Grapha. We've got Tearlament's Kaleidoheart and Rukulos. We've got Dragostapelia. We've got Muddragon of the Swamp, which, trust me, you're going to be going into a lot more than you would expect in a deck that doesn't have a lot of access to good Tearlament fusions. We've got Minerva, the Athenian Lightsworn. I didn't think she was Athenian. Lightsworn monsters you control can't be banished by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this is synchro summoned, you can send Lightsworns with different types from your deck to the graveyard up to the number of Lightsworns used as this card's material, and you can banish up to 4 Lightsworns from your graveyard. Send them any cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. Wow, can you think of someone who would want exactly 4 Lightsworns banished? After that, we've got Vsauce Amatrara. This is, of course, an 8-star synchro monster that becomes Vsauce Starfrost while in the field, and can, if synchro summoned, add a spell trap that mentions Vsauce Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Here, Primeval Planet Pellerino. After that, we've got some Xyz monsters. Zombie Vampire is really, really easy to make with the Horus cards. Time Thief Redoer. Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn is here once again, but thank God she's not still a prize card. Abyss Dweller, and then Apollosa, SP Little Knight, Sprind, and Cross Sheep. In the side, we've got 3 copies of D-Barrier, 3 copies of Evenly, 1 copy of Heartbeat, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Mindcon, 3 Triple Tactics Talents, and 1 Change of Heart. We're really, really changing control of monsters. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Draco Slayer Melodious Pendulums. Neat idea. Unfortunately, I know all too well that shoving Ostinato in Pendulum Slop doesn't resolve the outstanding issues. We're going first, and this is an interesting hand. You can't really tell if it's good or bad until you get Millen, so let's get Millen. We're going to go for King Sark to pitch this Beast King in order to send Happy. We'll summon Happy and Imseti, and let's start with the Zombie Vampire. We're going to mill 4, and wow, I mean, that is about as good as it gets, but also there aren't really bad mills in this deck. We'll grab a Celiac to hand, and then we'll use the effect of our Lightsworn Dragon to get Felis and Wolf on our side of the field for a Minerva for 2. We'll send Weiss and another Wolf, allowing us to summon both Wolf and Felis once again, and immediately we run into a problem. We are running out of zones. We're going to fire off this Minerva. We do hit Aegis here, which is nice, and then we're going to go into Cross Sheep, into Minerva, into Mill, a whole ton of cards, including some Tearlaments. We'll make a Grapha early, then summon back a Shiren with the effect of the Cross Sheep, summoning the Tearlaments Kashtira as well. From here, we'll mill 3 and hit some mandatories we can't resolve. Then we'll go into SP Little Knight, banish a card from our opponent's deck, normal summon that Weiss, and end on a Time Thief Redoer and an Aegis. Our opponent will start their turn by drawing another Pendulum monster, surprising, into Ostinato. Well, there's just no way in hell we're letting that resolve, so we will go Grapha into Celiac, add a Tearlament Kashtira. They're going to go for the Dragon Shrine here into the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm in order to grab Gate 0, then set Majesty Pegasus into Ignis. From here, we're going to go Time Thief Redoer, and because guess what? Our Shiren was sent to the graveyard by a card effect, we can make Rukulos. They're going to go for Majesty Pegasus, and then trigger the effect of the Ignis Phoenix and face up extra, but we'll just go ahead and Rukulos that, sending it to the graveyard, then Rukulosing back itself. Our opponent's going to go for Dinoster Power, at which point we can flip up Aegis in order to prevent the resolution of that effect. We'll negate both scales. They're going to go ahead and normal summon an Ignis Phoenix. We will summon this Tearlament Kashtira on open game state because I think I have a pretty good idea what's happening next. We'll mill a whole bunch of cards, hit some mandatories we can't resolve, and down comes Beyond the Pendulum. We'll negate that with a Celiac in order to prevent them from getting more gas. From here, they will Pendulum summon 1, 2, 3 monsters, still pretty impressive, into Exceed the pendulum in order to grab back that Dark Worm. They're going to go for Dinoster Power, and I guess it's probably time to Little Knight. We will target the Exceed the Pendulum, and then we'll chain the effect of the Mudora as they chain the effect of Exceed the Pendulum. From here, they're going to summon this Ignis Phoenix from hand, and then afterwards they can make an SP of their own, banishing our copy of Rukalos. Unfortunately, that means we are getting another turn, so they might as well concede because that Horus is going to kill them. So that's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Well, our opponent for game 2 is on Gate Guardian. Okay, don't laugh. Don't laugh. I beat the hell out of Nova with this deck. They're going first. Let's see what they can accomplish. It turns out the answer is a lot. They're going to lead with a copy of Foolish Burial in order to send a copy of the one they don't have access to. They're going to go heavy tank into Kazajan, into Wall Shadow, into Suijin, into Wind and Water, into Burial from a different dimension so they can make combined. That's something, right? All right, we're going to draw for turn. We're going to begin with a copy of Charge of the Light Brigade, which they let resolve. All right, I will take it. We'll go for Dragonling next, and then afterwards we're going to activate the effect of the Dragonling in order to bin a Felis. We will summon that Felis and then go into a Minerva. We'll trigger the effect of the Minerva and the Dragonling. Let's get a Punishment Dragon to our hand and mill a couple. We will summon out a couple of monsters here, the Felis and the Wolf, and then afterwards we'll go into a Visas Amitrara. That's going to grab us a Primeval Planet Pellerino to our hand. We'll go Scream into Minerva in order to mill a ton of cards, including 2 Tearlaments. We're going to go ahead and resolve the effects of those, going into a Grapha super early, followed by a Scream, then normal summon a copy of Tearlament's Rhinoheart, sending a Havness. Here we can summon a copy of Kaleidoheart, trigger the effect, targeting the Gate Guardians combined. They will of course respond, to which we will respond with Grapha to change the effect. Afterwards, we will go for the field spell. They'll negate the search. We'll go for Punishment Dragon and shuffle everything from the graveyards back into the deck, at which point we will trigger the effect of the Primeval Planet as well. They're going to negate that, so we can just go to combat. This should be it. We will walk over this copy of the Labyrinth Tank and their last remaining fusion monster before getting in for well over lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on What Else But Snake Eye, and our hand is... Well, again, I do not know if the hand is good or bad till I watch inside the top of the deck. Okay, our opponent is going first, and unfortunately one of the downsides to playing a deck with no main deck non-engine is game 1, your opponent just gets to style all over you, so behold the styling. They're going to go for Diabellstar into Ash effect for Poplar effect, summon Poplar effect. They're going to go ahead and grab the field spell. We'll go to the Divine Temple, setting an Oak, then we'll activate Ash, sending the Oak for a Flamberge. We're going to go for the IP Masquerena into Flamberge, summoning back the Oak and the Ash. Then the Oak effect, bringing back the Poplar as well. From here, they're going to go into a Primeval Princess, into the Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, set the IP Masquerena into Raging, into Zelantis, into OSS. Here, we're going to grab a Ponix, at which point they overlay for Assembled. This is so cute. I think they think we're playing Tenpai, but surely you would have seen a hand trap by now. Maybe they assume we're on like Tenpai, but we just didn't draw anything but our board breakers. That's really funny. Anyway, we're going to lead Sheeran. They're going to go SP Little Knight here and trigger the effect of the Flamberge in sequence. Here, just drowning us in advantage. They will go Ash in order to grab Ash. We got some good mills, but for all the good it's going to do us, we'll go Merly into an Imperm, at which point we can just fire off this Tier Cash, and they will SP Little Knight, banishing the Merly, which forces us to banish the Rhinoheart from hand. Let's mill a couple of cards, and those are some good ones. Scream plus, of course, the Wolf. Afterwards, they will activate the effect of the Princess, and yeah, okay, no reason to play past that. So it's time for game 2, and Jesus, this hand is going to test our ability to play through pieces of interaction. Thankfully, it doesn't look like they have too much for the Imseti, which we will fire first and foremost, getting ourselves a King Sark. Let's go for the King Sark and then activate the effect pitching the Mudora. This comes out to be a really good idea because it contests the Druis Worm. Our opponent's going to Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill our Zombie Vampire. We will go for the Weiss, sending a Felis and a Wolf. We will summon both of those suckers, and then afterwards we will go into Minerva, activating her effect in order to bin 2 more. We'll go Weiss again for the Lightsworn Dragonling, and get a copy of Punishment to hand, at which point we will summon the Lightsworn Dragonling and send a Wolf. We'll trigger Wolf in order to summon it, and then go into a Visas Amitrara. That's going to go ahead and grab us a Primeval Planet, and we will take the Mourner damage for an SP Little Knight. We'll go Minerva here for 4, milling 4, including a Rhinoheart and a Scream and a Felis in order to grab a Saliak and the Rhinoheart, pitching the Saliak and the Felis and the Rhinoheart and the Saliak. God, these chains, into a Havness. We will send a Shiren, and down comes the Druis Worm. Not a moment too soon. All right, we'll let that resolve. We'll go for the Pellerino next, and then afterwards we can go to a copy of Sprind, sending Merly, thankfully still legal in this format. We'll shuffle back a couple of cards for Grapha, trigger Pellerina to eat the Druis Worm, and then of course activate the effect of the Grapha in order to change the effect to discard card into the Havness. Here we can go to a Mud Dragon, which enables us to go to Redoer and recycle that SP Little Knight into a Tearlament Kashtira in order to bin 3 more before going into the SP again and ending on Punishment Dragon as well. In standby, we will take the top card of our opponent's deck, and they're going to lead with a Diabellstar. We will Sprind here in order to to bounce that back to the hand. I really like this play. It just means that they have to commit more before they're even able to leverage the OSS. They're going to go for the Snake Eye Ash. We'll just go for Grapha here in order to change the effect. And oh wow, it's Saliak. Who could have guessed? Into the Havness once again. They do get for the OSS here. They go Oak, but this puts them in a really weird situation because as long as we Punishment Dragon, they actually don't get to resolve this effect. They don't really have too much left to do, and we can Pellerino their last monster. This triple attack is going to have to do a lot. Draw 2 is into a Sinful Spoils, but that's still not enough. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and oh my god, my kingdom for an impermanence, am I right? Okay, our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Wanted. They will go for the Diabell Star, pitching the second Diabell Star with a third Diabell Star in hand. Boy, have I been there. They're going to go for Snash, then they're going to get Poplar, then they're going to summon Poplar, they'll activate the effect of Poplar, they'll get the Divine Temple for Oak, yada yada yada. You know, we've all been here. They're going to go Wanted first, and oh my god, an Ash off the top. Well, they can do a lot worse than standard Snake Eye combo plus 3 pieces of non-engine in hand. Let's just go Oak here, bring back this copy of Poplar, and then afterwards we can just go into Promethean, go ahead and bring back the Flamberge, set the IP Masquerena, into an Amblo Whale. What is this, 2024, but a couple of months earlier? They're going to go for Snake Eyes Flamberge as early as possible, playing around the triple tactics, but I mean, you're never going to not activate a monster effect. They're going to Ash the first charge, but joke's on them, I hit a Wolf and I have a second one. We'll go for the triple tactics to take that copy of Masquerena and then fire off SP Little Knight. They will Ghost Mourner, but we can just dodge that with Little Knight, right? Let's go ahead and remove that Amblo Whale from the board as well. Let's go for the charge of the Light Brigade, and then we will go for the effect of the Lightsworn Dragonling, summoning itself. We'll go for the effect in order to send a Felis, summon the Felis. Then afterwards, they will go for Promethean Princess. This is kind of a heads-up play. It gets them a lot of material because, of course, as we normal the Keldo, they will be able to activate the field spell to summon Oak into Ash, into another Poplar, trying to stave off, I guess, some sort of OTK push, but they already know we can't kill them because we activated the effect of SP Little Knight, and now they have done a very strange thing in summoning Promethean Princess, and that is cut themselves off of Nibiru. This is just sort of a thing that all Snake Eye players have to contend with at some point, and that is that they have one card that kind of wipes the board, but also contests with their ability to stay in it. We're going to push the advantage while we have it. We're going to go for Havness here, milled off of a Tier Cash into Kaleido Heart. Kaleido Heart's going to spin back this copy of Promethean Princess. We can trigger the effect of the Pellerino in order to pop the field spell, and we'll go ahead and get a Shiren for our trouble as well. We'll go Shiren here, mill a couple into a Merly, not bad. We'll put back the Imseti for a Mudragon, which gives us Redoer. Unfortunately, because I shuffled back the Promethean, we're now vulnerable to Nibiru, which is frustrating, but hardly the end of the world because at this point we have way more than enough to rebuild the board. We'll go to Dragostapelia into a Rhino Heart, and our opponent will concede. So we're back with the deck, and while it won, it sure did struggle getting there. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The new Lightsworn cards really just do what they did before, but better. They mill cards, they make rank 4s and synchro 8s. The Lightsworn engine also allows you to mill over 8 cards and make 2 level 8 synchros, including Vsauce, which searches your way into tier limits and engine pieces. And as a bonus, milling Aegis also lets you negate things like Evenly and Dark Ruler. That's neat for a build-a-board deck. 2. Weiss. This allows you to shuffle back Wolf and Felis, so they're not entirely dead in hand each time, which at minimum feels good. And 3, the tier limit cards still do their magic and give you access to much more interruption on the opponent's turn than if you were playing pure. And the cons. 1. The Lightsworns are a great mill engine, and they do build a board themselves, but none of them can be used for fusions with the tier limit cards, so you can easily end up in sticky situations with your tier mills. 2. Nibiru is a pain in the ass for the deck. Because this strategy relies on SP, Kaleido Heart, and Grapha specifically to push through or negate it, if you don't have these set up in time, your Lightsworn setups can often just get interrupted by an early Nibiru and leave you on a huge resource drain. And 3. People are still, regrettably, siding Bystials. They're absolutely devastating to the tier limit engine, since there's only 3 names and you only get 1 apiece. Overall, the new Lightsworns do what you were doing before, but turbocharged. I mean, Synchro Minerva is a powerful enough card to justify an engine in any graveyard-centric deck. The problem is just that those decks aren't ready for the light of day. Maybe if design philosophy changes, these can blossom, but otherwise, it might be time to put this deck where it wants to be, in the graveyard. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are functionally subsidized by, and occasionally suggested by, my Patreons. I'm going to go ahead and read out some of the higher tier Patreons now, without whom these videos would not be possible. Huge thanks to Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Brett Henry, Canner, Seaweed, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elefante, Gravity, John Piet, Juan Cruz Avila Zati, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Durezzo, MBT Play Dolce, soon, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nebula Yu-Gi-Oh!, Project Mercury, Rose Lapine, Troy Says By Erasure Is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Your Pot of Greed Does What, and Yuki. Couldn't have done it without you.